him. And this person is very important because sometimes we say, was it a pre-planned attack or was it a last-minute attack? Because the government would love to say that it was a last-minute attack and that's why it was so brutal. But on the screen here is a screenshot of an interview with General Sinha, and he actually made a procedure for the government a procedure that he put forward to the government and said that this is how we should go about bringing Santaji out of the Akal Takht. And he actually said that the army should all take their shoes off. We'll make a makeshift Gurdwara outside that the soldiers will do matha tek to. He actually said that we will use minimal force. He even said that we will live broadcast the whole operation. And he even said that what was the last thing he said? He said that there was I slipped my mind now, but he was basically refusing to take extra measures and brutal action against the Sikhs inside Akal Takht. And when we talk about was it a pre-planned attack, in the Doom Valley where the army would actually go and practice their procedures and their operations, there was actually a makeshift model of Harmandir Sahib, a life-size version of Harmandir Sahib built in 1982, and that was before Santaji actually even entered Akal Takht Sahib. So everyone would say that Santaji shouldn't have been inside of Akal Takht, and the only reason we're going in now is to take him out. But if it was a last-minute plan, then why were they already kind of practicing in 1982? And so now we're just going to talk about the scene and what it was like, the Mahal of Punjab. And now in 1984, in the time of June and May, the army started slowly entering Punjab. And at that time there was 70,000 personnel of the government entering Punjab. And during the actual attack, there was 15,000 soldiers that would actually attack Darbar Sahib. And the Sikhs had already Santaji and everybody already got a tip-off that the government were going to attack. And so this is why they started fortifying all of Harmandir Sahib. So if anyone was going to come to your house and you know that someone was going to come to your house and attack it, you would fortify it, you would defend it, you would take all the measures you can to make sure you defend that. And this was led by Sant Jarnail Singh, General Shabeg Singh and Jathedar Sukhdev Singh Babbar. And these are some of the pictures that what they did to kind of fortify Harmandir Sahib. They were putting up sandbags, they were putting up bricks in the windows of the complex. And I was just watching an interview just before I got here of General Bra, who was the general who kind of operated Operation Blue Star. He was the general for it, and he was saying that why the Sikhs shouldn't have been fortifying Harmandir Sahib. They shouldn't have had weapons inside. There was weapons of mass destruction and stuff like that. But like I said yesterday, it only takes a minute worth of knowledge on Sikhi to actually know that the Akal Takht Sahib was built on oppression and to defend the rights of not only us but everyone else. And the way we practice that is with arms, with weapons, with shastar. When Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji got the Gurgaddi and became the Guru, he stopped asking for money as donations. Like when we come and give put a pound down or £5 down to Maharaj now, back then Maharaj was saying, bring horses, bring weapons so that we can arm ourselves. And they actually created the first Sikh army. So this was nothing new. It was nothing alien about any of this. And so on the 1st of June is when the army actually started attacking Darbar Sahib. Now, during 12:40 p.m. and 8 a.m. on the 1st of June, the government and the army started just firing at Darbar Sahib and the whole complex. There was no firing coming from within the complex. It was just a barrage of bullets being sprayed by the Indian government towards the Darbar Sahib. And even the president of India at that time, Zail Singh, he said that there was no warning given and there was no response from inside the complex. So it begs the question, why did they start the whole operation by shooting at us? There was no means of actually going in, negotiating. You know when they say Sanji was a terrorist, there was terrorist militants within the Darbar Sahib. Well, if you're going to call someone a terrorist or you're going to arrest someone, there would be arrest warrants, there would be some sort of on a paper to say, right, these are the named terrorists and this is a warrant for their arrest. But there was none of that. They started the whole operation by firing bullets at the Harmandir Sahib. And on the 1st of June, we had Shaheed by Menga Singh. And during the massacre of 1978, that is when he got inspired to actually be blessed with Amrit. And it was at this time where he was positioned in Baba Atal Rai Gurdwara, in the Atal Rai Tower. And it was just outside of the complex, like you see on the board there. And he was actually managed to actually kill 3 soldiers. So he was on the top of this tower, and because he's seeing all this like bullets being fired at the complex, he decided that he's going to start firing back as well to defend the honor of Darbar Sahib. And so at that time he had managed to kill 3 soldiers, and as his confidence started building, he actually moved higher up towards the tower. And it was at that time, when he started moving a bit higher, is when a sniper from the Indian army shot him straight in the forehead. And even after being shot in the forehead, he was then taken, his body, from a Baba Atal Rai Gurdwara tower down to Guru Nanak Niwas, which is just left of the tower. And even with all those bullets being fired, they'll still manage to get his body out of there. And when they asked Pai Sahib, how are you? His only response was, I'm in Chardi Kala. And that, the Singh started praying at that time, and they started a part that we call Sukhmani Sahib. And for anyone that has read or listened to Sukhmani Sahib, it can take an hour, hour and a half. And Menga Singh didn't actually leave their physical body until all of Sukhmani Sahib was recited. And it was only right at the end of Sukhmani Sahib is when they left their body and they gave Shahidi. And then now on the 2nd of June was when Bhai Menga Singh's body was cremated, and there was no firing at this time. And on the 2nd of June, Indira Gandhi actually went on to Doordarshan TV, and she started talking about the Operation Blue Star. And she started talking about how there should be a peaceful solution to all of this. And she ended the interview by saying, don't shed blood, shed hatred. But if you spread enough hatred, that only leads to shedding blood. But why is it that she decided that she wanted to speak on the TV about a peaceful solution after the army had already been ordered to fire on the complex itself? Now, anyone leaving the complex on the 2nd weren't allowed to leave now, because there was a curfew placed on Punjab and Amritsar. Now, if you go to the next slide, so on the 2nd of June, all these pilgrims, all this Sangat started entering Amritsar, Punjab, entering Darbar Sahib, because it was coming up to Guru Arjan Dev Ji Shahidi Purab, which was coming on to the 3rd of June. So all the preparations for this Shahidi Purab was on the 3rd of June. Everyone came a little bit early to set up everything. And on this day, 10,000 pilgrims managed to enter Darbar Sahib. And by midday, people that wanted to leave Amritsar weren't allowed to, because all the trains were all cancelled all of a sudden because of this curfew. So all these stranded pilgrims, all these stranded Sangat members all came back to Harmandir Sahib. And now when they came back, they weren't given any sort of warning about this curfew. It was like a rat trap. So anyone that's seen those boxes, like a rat trap, if a rat goes into the trap, is not able to come back out. And that's exactly what they made the complex. They made the complex like a rat trap, where anyone is allowed to enter the Darbar Sahib, but then no one's allowed to leave. And the sad thing about the 2nd of June is, even on this day, basically all these pilgrims that entered Darbar Sahib, they were all shot in cold blood. And this was all, everything that I'm speaking isn't just from my own, I'm just guessing these things, these aren't my opinions. This is all recorded, eyewitness accounts, all these books that have been released, and everything is referenced. And now on the 3rd of June is when it was Guru Arjan Dev Ji's Shahidi Purab. And now this is where we also need to ask the question, why did they choose such a busy time of the year for Sikhs to actually attack Darbar Sahib? Now, if Santji was a terrorist, if there were militant terrorists within Darbar Sahib, they weren't attacking anybody, they weren't saying anything to anybody, but why did they choose specifically on this week to attack Darbar Sahib? And on the same day, the Akali Dal, which was another political party, like I was talking about the Dharam Yudh Morcha, that was a whole procession of protests to get the Anandpur resolution resolved. On that day, there was going to be 1,300 members of the Akali Dal that were going to come to the Darbar Sahib to protest even more. And it just shows that the only reason that they kind of chose this date or this week was so that there was this maximum casualty. That they wanted to make sure that they were able to kill as many Sikhs as they could. It didn't matter if they were terrorists, it didn't matter if they were militants, it didn't matter if they were just innocent women, children, men, it didn't matter. They just wanted to kill as many Sikhs as they could. And on the 3rd of June as well, there was a banning of any foreigners coming into Punjab and Amritsar. There was a major blackout of all of Punjab. The press was censored. Anyone that wanted to come into Punjab wasn't allowed. And on the white paper, which is like a government sheet, it's called the white paper, and it's like the government's view on what happened during the whole operation. And on there they say that the reason everything was banned was because of communal tension. So they said there's tension within Punjab, so that's why we have to do this whole curfew, we have to have this whole blackout of media. But luckily for us, and with Maharaj's Kirpa, there was actually a reporter called Chelani, and he was actually able to witness some of the atrocities taking place on the 3rd of June. And he reported that 13 people had been killed in cold blood with their hands tied behind their back with their dastara. So Singhs were getting picked up, had their hands tied behind their back with their dastara, and just shot in the head. That's it. Now, he was actually prosecuted after this. He was actually, because he reported this, he got arrested for it. And when he got arrested, he wasn't able to report anything else. Now we need to ask the question, what else might have he actually seen? What would he have seen and what would he have reported that we might not have heard of now because he was arrested? And then when it comes to the 4th of June, now the 4th of June is when the major bombardment of Darbar Sahib began. And at 4 a.m. the enemy started to just shell all these missiles, all these grenades, all these cannon fire, all this gunfire in all directions of Harmandir Sahib. And they decided to start at 4 a.m. And now, as we know, 4 a.m. is the Amrit Vela Sama, and all the things we're doing there, Amrit Vela, Nityanim, people having an Ishnan, but still, they decided on that peaceful time of the day for a Sikh to actually start shelling all these weapons on the Darbar Sahib. And now in June, we know that it's really hot in India. Like even if you look at the weather now, it's probably like 45 to 50 degrees Celsius in Punjab. And at that time, they decided to cut all the water and electricity of Darbar Sahib. Now that is such an inhumane strategy because there's 20,000 pilgrims within Darbar Sahib. There's no fans, no water, no electricity. And actually many pilgrims actually died of dehydration because of this tactic that they used. And another eyewitness account by Davinder Singh, who was in charge of the Sikh reference library, he even says that at 4 a.m. there was like these 25-pounder shells dropped onto the left side of Akal Takht. And this is when they started actually throwing in poisonous gas into the complex. Now if you look in the Darbar Sahib, all the doors were shut. There's bricks so that you can't even see inside who's inside of these rooms. But without even checking who's inside, there was throwing in grenades, throwing in poisonous gas, and this was killing not only the freedom fighters of the Darbar Sahib, but also just innocent women, men and children. And he even witnessed himself a helicopter hovering above the complex and just firing indiscriminately at all the rooms in Darbar Sahib. And he actually witnessed, as this helicopter was even throwing bombs onto the complex, all he could see is just young boys' bodies getting blown to pieces. And another eyewitness account from Karnail Kaur and Ban Singh was that anyone that was thirsty, because like I said, the water was cut, the electricity was cut, and anybody that actually wanted to drink water, when they actually went to the soldiers and asked them if they could drink water, they were told that they should drink the mixture of blood and urine that's on the floor. This is what they were saying to the innocent pilgrims. Like they would like to say that, oh, we were there to fight the terrorists within inside Harmandir Sahib. But when innocent pilgrims are asking for water, they're being told to drink the urine and blood mixture on the ground of all the Singhs. And now, on the same day, they were told, and this is something that we've actually agreed with for once with the Indian government, is that they said that there was no firing from the actual Golden Temple, the Darbar Sahib. There was no firing coming from within the Darbar Sahib. And they said that we didn't fire anything else, we didn't fire bullets at the Darbar Sahib either. But then how do you explain these two Ragi Singhs, Ragi Avtar Singh and Ragi Amrik Singh, and Ragi Avtar Singh was actually a blind 65-year-old. Then how do you explain these two being shot within Darbar Sahib while they were playing Kirtan for everyone to listen to? This is how brave these two were, but that even though the whole complex is being shelled with all this cannon fire, they still kept the honor and the maryada of Harmandir Sahib, and they still played Kirtan throughout this whole process. And in this whole process of keeping the maryada, they were actually shot. And also there's no evidence to prove that there was actually firing coming out of the Darbar Sahib. And now on the 5th of June, there's also another eyewitness testimony from this young college girl. And she was one of the thousands of pilgrims that were actually trapped within the complex. And she says that she was in a room full of 40-50 people in just one tiny room. And she could actually see angs of Guru Granth Sahib Ji flying in the air. With all that bombardment of Darbar Sahib, she could actually see that our Guru was actually being attacked as well. Guru Granth Sahib Ji is not just within the Golden Temple Darbar Sahib. There's many Guru Granth Sahib Jis in different parts of the complex. And they didn't care about this. On the same day, a bullet was actually fired onto Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj, and it went so far to actually up to Sukhmani Sahib, the part. And on top of that, she could see angs of Guru Granth Sahib Ji being in the air, just floating around. Now, Guru Granth Sahib Ji is our living Guru. That's the equivalent of Guru Nanak Dev Ji or Guru Gobind Singh Ji getting blown to pieces. And you can just see their angs flying in the air. So now when people say we should just forget about this, like I'm going through the comments on like YouTube and TikTok, and all I see is people saying we should forget about all of this. But why should we forget about such a time where our Guru was blown to pieces as well? Not only the Shaheeds of the time, but also our Guru was blown to pieces. And the same college girl even says that because all the pilgrims were desperate for water and food, they were dying of dehydration, they would actually run towards the Sarovar, and they would actually try to drink the water from the Sarovar, which was also mixed with blood. But those same people that she saw running out towards the Sarovar, the next morning she actually saw those same people and their dead bodies lying beside the Sarovar. So if this was actually an attack on, or if this was an operation to take out militants, then why were innocent men, women and children also murdered in cold blood in the same way? So these are the questions that we need to keep asking ourselves, asking the government, and this isn't something that we should just forget about. We should get inspiration from the bravery from all these freedom fighters and all these Shaheeds that actually kept the sanctity of Darbar Sahib. And then another eyewitness account, because the reason I'm giving so many eyewitness accounts is because I don't want to just feel like I'm talking out of my own opinion and what I've read. I'd rather give you what other people that were there said. And another eyewitness was Gyani Puran Singh. And he says that 10 p.m. tanks started entering the Darbar Sahib in the whole complex. And there was so much artillery fire that it started causing fires in different places of the complex. And as these tanks came in, he didn't realize they were tanks at first. Because it's 10 p.m., it's quite dark now, and these tanks had like these bright lights. And so he actually thought that they were actually the fire brigade that came in, and he's actually thinking that they're going to extinguish the fires, until he realized that what he thought was the fire brigade was actually tanks, and the only reason he actually realized was when it started firing upon all parts of the complex. And now I was watching an interview just before I got here of General Bra, who was one of the generals that led this operation, and he said that this was just a tactic that they used to blind us, to blind the Shaheeds. Now, it's a bit of a weird tactic. Why would you use tanks to blind the enemy? They'll say that, oh, we were just wanted to use a machine gun that was on top of the tank. We didn't actually want to use the actual tank and bombard the Akal Takht Sahib. Now, I don't want to make this whole thing feel like it was a genocide, because at this point it wasn't. This was still a battle between the Sikhs and the Indian government and the army. And the Singhs actually fought very, very vigorously in this battle. Like the same eyewitness account, he said the vigorous battle ensued between the army and the 40-50 youth who had been holding the forces, fought bravely through the night until either they were killed or their ammunition was exhausted. Now, that's one of the only reasons why you could say that the Indian government were actually able to kill all the Shaheeds of that time in Darbar Sahib, is because it was either our weapons ran out of ammo, or it was that they were actually brought in tanks to blow us up, basically. And now, when these tanks came in, now this family is one that I actually take a lot of inspiration from. I know they say you shouldn't have a favorite guru, or you shouldn't have a favorite Shaheed or something like that, but I personally see it as you can have a certain connection with a family, a Shaheed or a guru, and this is one that I take a lot of inspiration from. And it was of the family of Gyani Mohar Singh and his whole family, and he was actually a Hindu Pandit at the time, before he became a Sikh, and it was only until he was in the Sangat of Sant Kartar Singh when he actually took Amrit, and then later on when he became very close with Sant Junaid Singh Khalsa, he actually became their bodyguard. And this family, when they saw, his family was actually advised by Santji to actually leave the premises. He was told that leave, because you have a family, you have two little girls, Bibi Waiguru Kaur and Bibi Satnam Kaur, who are ages 8 and 6 years old. But Gyani Mohar Singh said that we've already made an ardas to Guru Sahib now, and the ardas we've made is that we want to obtain Shahidi now. And when they saw these tanks coming in, they knew that they only had one option, and they all decided to strap grenades, strap these C4s to their bodies and run towards these tanks. Run towards these tanks, shouting Sat Sri Akal, and then blowing the tank up. And they actually blew up the tank that they went towards, and they actually stopped any more tanks passing from that point. And this actually gave so much haunsla and so much spirit to all the other Singhs that were fighting, because obviously if you've only got like a small pistol, if you've got a machine gun and a tank is coming towards you, you would actually get a bit demotivated. But after seeing this Shahidi from this family, and I just want to just reiterate, they were 6 and 8 years old. That we could take so much inspiration from just this. And it just shows that these weren't just some armed bande, just some regular people from the streets just defending Harmandir Sahib. These guys had a lot of kamai, had a lot of spiritual earnings that we could all take inspiration from. Because you're not able to just do these things just out of oh, I just feel like doing it now. It takes years and years of kamai, a lot of simran, a lot of art, having your Nitnem on point, having your Amrit Villa on point, waking up every single morning for Amrit Villa to get this fearlessness to actually do certain things like this. And now the 6th of June is when the Akal Takht was actually attacked by the tanks, and at 4:30, 30 soldiers tried to enter the Akal Takht. And as they tried to enter, they just kept getting shot down by all the Singhs within the Akal Takht Sahib, because they were able to kind of, if you go through the main entrance of the complex and you go left, and now Akal Takht is on your right, all that part was now taken over by the Indian government. But the Akal Takht Sahib was the only part where they weren't able to kind of capture. And this is why they started firing these tanks towards the Akal Takht Sahib, because now they wanted to get everyone out of there. And Now, at this time, now a fire had, when they were firing all these attacks at Akal Takht Sahib, there was a lot of fires that were built up, and now the whole front layer of Akal Takht Sahib, like you can see in the picture, was all demolished. You can see the before and after picture, and when an autopsy was done, 80 shells of the tanks were actually fired towards Akal Takht Sahib, and they'll say that there was only 10 or 20. And the excuse was, well, if the first one didn't work and the second one didn't work, then we had to keep firing and firing. And then on the 6th of June, we also had even more pilgrims that were also massacred, and piles and all the dead bodies that were all accumulating, all of them were being put into trolleys and just being dumped in the local rivers. There was about, eyewitness account says there was about 1,500 bodies that were piled up, and even the Guardian newspaper of the UK, even they said it was a virtual massacre. A large number of women, children and pilgrims were just gunned down in cold blood. And now if you go to the 7th of June now, this is where you could say it starts turning into a genocide now, because the battle is coming towards the end, and this is where the Indian government will say that none of this is true. But from all the eyewitness accounts and all the evidences, you could see that when the army had come in, they started to actually tie up all the Sikh boys' hands behind their back with their dastada and start shooting everybody in cold blood, and just started killing everybody in their sight. It's like when you get a bit hungry for blood, you don't care what's in your sight. You just start killing anything. And this is what they were doing. And even from the eyewitness account from this teenage girl, they said that the army men beat these Sikh boys with the butts of their rifles until they fell on the ground and they were shot right in front of me. And now, if we go to, now sometimes we say, in our next slide, we'll say, people always like to say, well, Santji should have vacated the complex and that he shouldn't have been in the Darbar Sahib in the first place. Now, I get this a lot from my own family as well. Like whenever I talk about 1984 or anything like this, I always get the same questions again and again. Well, he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, if we just take a look at our history, Baba Deep Singh Shaheed, they entered the Darbar Sahib when they saw that it was taken over. Bhai Matab Singh, Bhai Sukha Singh chopped the head of Masarangar when it was taken over by Masaranga, when he was actually drinking alcohol within the golden part of the temple, drinking alcohol, smoking shisha, eating halal meat, chucking it on the ground. When the Singhs were heard about all these things, they went, just the two of them, and chopped his head off and brought it back to the Singhs. So when they say, well, why he should have vacated, well, he shouldn't have vacated, because he was the 14th leader, I believe, of the Damdami Taksal, and so was Baba Deep Singh. He was the first Jathedar of Damdami Taksal. So why would he abandon his post if his previous Jathedar didn't? And it also ignores the fact that it was an unprovoked attack. There was nobody attacking from inside the Darbar Sahib. So why would you actually come and attack the Darbar Sahib? So it just ignores that whole act. And it also ignores the fact that excessive force was used. And it also ignores the fact that on the same day, 42 other Gurdwara were also attacked. So whether or not Santji was within the Darbar Sahib or not, it doesn't matter. Whether he was in there or not, it was going to be an attack on Sikhi either way. 42 other Gurdwara were also attacked simultaneously. And then if you go to the next slide, the Sikh reference library was also torched, meaning it was set on fire. This library had all of our sacred artifacts, manuscripts, Puratan Sarups of Hukamname, Puratan Sarups of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, handwritten by our Gurus. Yeah, all of this was within this library, and they still decided to set that on fire. They would say on the white paper that it was an accident because of all the firing that happened, but this was after the battle. Everyone that they wanted to kind of make Shaheed, that was all done. But even after the battle, and this was witnessed by the Jathedar of Akal Takht Sahib at the time, Gyani Kirpal Singh, and he even said that this was all done purposely. And in a book called Mrs. Gandhi's Last Battle, which was written in 1985, even there it says, any army which wants to destroy a nation destroys its culture. That is why the Indian army burnt the Sikh reference library to the ground. Now, if you look at the Native Americans, when the white man came in, they basically got rid of their whole culture. And now when you ask those same people, like they cut their gears, got rid of any sort of historical artifact for them. Now if you ask those same people, where are you from and where do you come from, they don't know. And this is exactly what they want us to do. Now because of this reason, there's so much history, so many Janam Sakhiyan, the lives of our Guru, that we just lost. And we don't know what was written in there now. But luckily enough, because of Gyani Singh's passing on knowledge, we do still have some of that from word of mouth, but a lot of history was then just wiped out. And then if these army officers were just there to kill terrorists, then why did they have the need to take pictures like this? If you look on the picture on the right, it's soldiers that are posing with an old man on the ground, dead. Why would they have the need to pose for pictures like this? You can see innocent bodies of pilgrims all lined up as well, taking pictures with the Akal Takht Sahib that they had just demolished. Why would they have a need to do something like this? And now even after the battle, like I mentioned yesterday, one of the actual resolutions, one of the demands within the Anandpur Sahib resolution was for Kirtan to be played from the Darbar Sahib live to the whole world, so that Sikhs in the diaspora could also listen to it and stuff like that. And that wasn't being met either. But they decided that after the attack now, they wanted to actually start playing Kirtan from Darbar Sahib to kind of water down and kind of butter us up, to kind of make us feel like, okay, at least they're giving us this, at least they're giving us that. But luckily for us, it kind of backfired for them, because all the Kirtanis that actually that played the Kirtan that was broadcasted, all they sang Shabads was about oppression. And even Gyani Sant Maskeen ji, even after the attack, even he started doing a lot of prachar and a lot of speeches on how we can no longer stay in India. And now we need to kind of fight for our rights, no matter what the means are. Even he's saying something like this. And when I was thinking about this whole presentation yesterday, I was kind of looking at these pictures of these Shaheeds, and I was thinking, what can we actually take away from this whole scenario, this whole battle, this whole concept of 1984? And the only thing that I could think of at the time is that we need to stop becoming so numb to Sikhi, pretty much. Because I feel like with social media, we can witness anything on our phone. We can witness so many bad things on our phone, and I feel like we've seen so much now from just the palm of our hand. We get numb to all the things that happen within Sikhi, and even get numb to actually what occurred during the 80s. And when I looked at this picture, I was thinking, well, I wish I could actually live up to their Jeevani. Because all these, there was many Shaheeds, even if you see on the bottom right, there were even Munne, people that weren't even Singhs that were actually Shaheed during the attack. And I just wish that, I think we need to all take away that we actually have the same PR for Sikhi like they did. Because if we have love for our Guru, then we'll never let something like this happen again. We'll never let what happened during the 80s be forgotten. And also, read up on the history of our Shaheeds. Read up on the history. I've only touched on just such a minor and such a small part of what's actually happened. There's going to be the Battle of Amritsar documentary also broadcasted within this Gurukar, and I encourage everybody to watch that and actually see in detail the actual battle that took place as well. And one thing that just lastly want everyone to take away from today's talk is that research more about Sikhi, watch Basics of Sikhi YouTube channel. We need to arm ourselves with knowledge, because sometimes we feel like, what can we do? We keep talking about the same thing again and again and again, which is how I used to feel back in the day. But the more we keep spreading awareness about this, the more we keep educating ourselves on the matter, we can just put to bed some of the misconceptions of Santji. And the more we bring out the truth, the more people will start realizing. When I'm doing prachar, when I've done street prachar for Basics of Sikhi, like we done it in Trafalgar Square a few months ago, and I'll start off with the Prachar of Sikhi first. And just from just little things like we meditate on God's name, we give out free food, people are just amazed on how beautiful Sikhi is. But like myself and loads of other people, we kind of just brush over it, like we're just getting numb to it, getting so used to it that we don't actually see what's in the palm of our hands. And when I was speaking to them, they're just blown away. And then when I actually mentioned slightly about what's happened during 1984, that's when they get shocked. Like, why would they do something like that to people like the Sikhs? So forgive me for all the mistakes that I've made. I have made so many mistakes. I've missed out on so much history that I wanted to delve into, but because of time, I've gone 10 minutes over time. I apologize for that as well. But again, please research more. There's so many books out there. Reflection on 1984, the Sikh martyrs. There's so many different books, so many different videos. Please arm yourselves with that knowledge. Deho sajjan asisriyan, jo hove sahib sumail. Vaheguru ji ka khalsa, Vaheguru ji ki fateh.